Alright, so today we are going to be solving the function sine of x times Euler to the cosine of x. We're going to take the derivative of this function. So the very first thing we're going to do is look at this as actually a set of two different functions. You're going to use the product rule. So if we look at this, the product rule states that if we want to find the derivative of two different functions like this, we can really think about it as, so we have f of x times g of x. In our case, sine of x is going to be f of x, and e to the cosine of x is going to be g of x. So if we look at that, we can really break that down into f prime of x, or the derivative of f of x, times g of x, not g prime of x, plus f of x times g prime of x. So this is the product rule. So to do this, we really need four different terms that we can just plug in here. So first we need to find f prime of x, g of x, f of x, and g prime of x. So we're going to break this down as such. F of x is going to be equal to sine of x. So we know that f prime of x must be cosine of x. So now we're going to look at g of x. G of x is equal to e to the cosine of x. So when we look at this, we realize we kind of have to use the chain rule with cosine as the inner function, and then Euler, or e, to the cosine of x as the outer function. So the way that's going to work is we're really going to look at it like this. So by chain rule, we're going to say that g prime of x is equal to the derivative of the outer function, in this case e to the cosine of x, with respect to the inner function. And then we're going to multiply that by the derivative of the inner function, which is cosine of x. So the derivative of the inner function we're just going to represent like this. Alright, so if we actually substitute in here what we have up here, we get this. So we have g of x, or g prime of x, excuse me, is equal to the derivative of e to the cosine of x, which oddly enough is going to be e to the cosine of x, and then we're going to multiply that by the derivative of cosine of x. So the derivative of cosine of x is negative sine x. Cool. So now we have all four of the functions that we need to plug in to our product rule up here. So if we want to find a prime of x, we're going to put in f prime of x, which we see here is just cosine of x. Cosine of x times g of x, which is e to the cosine of x, and then we're going to add f of x, sine of x, plus g prime of x, which is this whole thing right here, or times, excuse me, times, we'll just do it this way, e to the cosine of x times negative sine of x. So this was by using the product rule we got here, and that product rule is written up here. Cool, so we can simplify this as well if we want, but really this is the end, this is the derivative. Thank you so much.